I crashed into a lamp post on my bike. This was just before Christmas. I think it was actually either Christmas Eve or the day before. But I was cycling to work. It must have been about 5:30 in the morning. And there's this hill. And it's a two-way pavement. It's one side for pedestrians and one side for cyclists. And I was going up this hill. It's like a bridge on a ring road. And I was going up it, and now Storm Barra had happened like either the day before or a few days prior. And there's a load of trees next to the barricade of this bridge, of this hill, this pavement I was on. And as a result, there were sticks everywhere, like bits of sticks, bits of debris, leaves, branches, all over this pavement. Nothing ridiculous, it was just a little bit of debris left over from the storm that occurred previous. So, my natural reaction when I'm on a bike is to just weave in and out. Now, personally, I think the council should have cleared that up. They don't care about us cyclists. I mean, it was snowing there a couple of days ago, and there was ice all over the pavements, and they never got salted, but the roads got salted. Never mind us, I had to use the road that morning. Anyway, I digress. So I'm weaving in past these sticks, and normally when I cycle, I do this very disgusting thing when I'm on a bike. I can't help it. I'm not going to stop to blow my nose. I'll let nature take its course. My nose is running, it's cold outside, I need to blow, but I'm not stopping. So what do? I do that disgusting thing where I hold one nostril and I just fire it out the other. I know it's disgusting. Footballers do it. It's got to be done. It's going nowhere. Nobody can see me. Nobody can hear me. Nothing's happening. I'm in my own world. But I clearly cannot do that and cycle past branches at the same time, because once I blew my nose, I lost all manner of just sense of direction. So once I started looking forward again, I noticed I was going straight for this lamppost. And I wasn't going too fast. I was going fast enough where my reaction just wasn't there. So I thought to myself, well, this is happening. So I crashed into this fucking lamppost. And have you ever seen Wacky Races? Where sometimes when a car crashes in that TV show, the car just falls apart. Now that's basically what happened to my bike. My front light fell off, that broke. My brake pad, the thing that you pull, that bent inward. My chain fell off. My brake pad, the actual brake pad on the tyre, got stuck, and the handle themselves just rotated 90 degrees. So my bike just fell apart, and I had this big bruise on my arm, like it was massive. So I thought, right, well, this is annoying. So I got off the bike and I tried to put everything back together, and it just wasn't moving. I just realised that this bike is fucking fucked. Now it's back on the road as it, so to speak. Again, I'm able to cycle to and from places, but the brakes are not working properly. The front brake is barely pulling me to a stop. It's also making this really loud screaming noise whenever I hit it. The rear brake isn't working. That barely slows me down. It makes contact with the tyre, but it's just not working. So the bike is needing serviced really bad, and me crashing into that lamppost made me realise this even more. So this is definitely a goal, If anyone's got a New Year's resolution that's realistic, it's me. And it's to get this bike fixed, because I need this bike. I use it every day, Monday to Friday. I can't do without it. My boss knows this, and that's why she has me going to these different locations to go and do my job, because she knows I use the bike. I couldn't possibly walk. I need it. And on the topic of my bike, I was also cycling to work one afternoon, and this was a different day, and I was cycling over this different bridge. Now let me explain what this bridge is, right? This bridge comes between two sides of the pavement where it goes from pedestrian and cycle lane to just a single lane, where the sign up says, get off the bike if you're going across this bridge, and walk over, because it's only a single lane. You couldn't fit two people on this pavement if you're on a bike. But what I'd usually do is I will cycle on this pavement, on this bridge, until I see someone at the other side, and that's when I get off. Because it's quite a long walk on this bridge. And, so without wasting time, I'll get on the bike and I'll keep going until I see someone, and then I'll get off. And that's what I do. But it's still a cycle lane. It's the colour of a cycle lane. But regardless. So, I'm on this bridge, and I'm coming up to the end of the bridge until I see 3 teenagers coming round. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, right, I'll get off the bike. But they did this thing where they saw me and stood aside. And that made me think, right, well, so they're letting me come up on the bike. That was nice of them. They didn't have to do that. They legally don't have to do that because the sign says I should get off the bike and walk up. But it looked like they were letting me come up the bridge, the lane, the pavement. So I did, I continued. And then I got closer to them, and 2 of them started walking on the pavement. Like, not within 3 seconds of me even coming close to them, did I realise that, oh fuck, they've decided to just walk onto the thing. So I couldn't react in time to get off the bike. So I kind of just slowed down and held on to the fence of the bridge, the barricade of the bridge on the right side, trying to squeeze past them while they were walking past me. And this is what I get for thinking everyone, like, just imagining the best in people and just being a complete misjudge of character. Because not before 2 getting past them, one of them turned around to me and said, "Get off the fucking pavement, you prick." And at that point, without even thinking about what my next response for me, my first reaction was to just turn around and say, "Fuck off." And that's what I did. So it was, "Get off the pavement, you prick. Fuck off." Because that pissed me off. It really pissed me off. Like, how dare you just fucking... You don't know... I'm not saying I'm the type of person not to mess with. Believe me, I'm the biggest pussy in the world. But at the same time, you just don't do that. You don't know who the person is you're shouting at. I wouldn't do anything. I'm a shitebag. I wouldn't do anything. I'll do a lot of talking and a lot of shouting and a lot of bitching about it like I'm doing right now, but I wouldn't physically do anything, even though I would have fucking loved to. But my point is, these teenagers just shouted abuse to me for being on a lane that I'm kind of allowed to be on. Anyway, get off the fucking pavement, you prick. And fuck you. Do you know what I mean? Fuck you. And this also happened when I was cycling home from work, and this time I felt I was not in the wrong. Now, when you're a cyclist, I'm not a cyclist, but when you cycle a bike to places, when you're using a bike, you can't win. You're either going to piss off a pedestrian who thinks you're in the way of them walking, or you're going to piss off a driver you're in the way of the road of them driving. You can't please any of them. Basically, pedestrians don't want cyclists there, and drivers don't want cyclists there. So this one time I was cycling home, and I decided to use the road, because the pavement, like I said earlier on, was too icy. It was full of ice, and I was slipping all over the place. When I first used the pavement, it says, right, I'm not using the pavement, I'm going to use the road. And I'm going to keep in the edge, like I always do, like all cyclists do. I will keep to the edge, away from vehicles, so they can safely overtake me. I am piss thin. I am no thicker than a tyre. You can overtake me. But I must have pissed off someone who was already in a bad mood, because I'm in this lane that a driver is not allowed to drive on or park in. Cars are not really allowed to be in this lane unless you're parking for an emergency. It's like a shoulder. It's like a hard shoulder, but it's not a hard shoulder, if you get my meaning. So I'm cycling in this little lane because I'm safe here. Nobody can drive here. But for some strange reason, this Jeep behind me, this Land Rover, now it caught me by surprise because at the same time I've got a podcast in one ear, so I'm not really paying attention to other vehicles apart from listening out for when they want to overtake me, or if I need to turn a corner or whatever. I keep myself aware, and I can hear cars coming past me on the right side, and that's normally what happens. It's not a problem, but for some strange reason, this Land Rover who overtook me couldn't overtake me without beeping their horn. He or she overtook me and honked their horn for a long time. As if to say, this cyclist is somehow in my way and he shouldn't be on the road. That's all I could think of. I'm not allowed to be on this road because I am a bike. I'm not a car. But again, fuck you. So, that annoyed me. These teenagers annoyed me, and the sticks in the lamppost annoyed me. Oh, but what I found fucking hilarious about that same cycle home, the day that the person overtook me and beeped the horn, I went over that same hill that I crashed into the lamppost, and the funniest thing, it's funny and it's not funny at the same time, but the funny part about it was that I cycled over, and at the spot where I crashed the bike into the lamppost, there was a bunch of flowers on the fence. As if, this is the site where this person crashed into the lamppost. I just found it fucking hilarious that there was a bunch of flowers there. And then this morning, I was cycling to work, and I found more flowers at that fence. Now, that's the funny part. Obviously, the other side of that is something terrible must have happened there. I don't know what happened. But if it was a fatal accident, I obviously give my condolences to the family or families affected. But no, it was kind of weird, and it was funny. But obviously something bad did happen there, so I'm not going to joke about it too much. But yeah, being someone who cycles to places, a lot of shit happens that just either annoys me, surprises me, or just flat out doesn't make sense. I love wrestling. I've been a wrestling fan for most of my life, I want to say. Obviously, I fell out of it during the mid-2000s, but coming into the 2010s, I started to like it again, and especially coming towards the end of the 2010s, I've just fell right back in love with wrestling again with the invention of AEW, All Elite Wrestling. That is what I've been watching lately, and it has made me fall in love with wrestling all over again. I love it. Now, I'm not talking about that. I'm going to talk about something that's actually quite funny. Now, in Scotland, at least to my knowledge, now, back in the day, when we used to see shows like ECW, or even recently like ICW or AEW, it's common for fans to chant the brand that they're watching. So you will hear fans chanting ECW, or you'll hear fans chanting ICW, or even NXT. You'll hear fans chanting NXT, and it usually sounds... So you'll hear fans chanting NXT, NXT, or any equivalent to the other brands. But Scottish fans, or British fans at least, we do it in such a way that we kind of shorthand it. Now, I don't know if other countries do this, but I know that we do it, at least. So, for example, if we go to an ICW show, you'll hear fans chanting, we won't shout the full thing. We won't shout, ICW, ICW. That sounds fairly, tribal. We instead shorthand it to sound like IC dub. Ergo, IC dub, IC dub, IC dub. We just, I don't know why we do that, but we just do. The same goes with ECW, and the same goes with AEW. And you'll only hear them do it with shows that end in W, or what, NXT being the outlier there. But I thought to myself, WWE and WCW never had chants like that. Like, you wouldn't hear fans chanting WWE, WWE, or WCW, WC. It doesn't. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But can you imagine shouting those brands with the shorthand involved? So, like, instead of why am I talking about this? So, instead of... Oh, it just sounds ridiculous hearing it in my head. So, can you imagine hearing that? So, using the same shorthand, so like EC dub, IC dub, AE dub, etc., etc. Can you imagine hearing that for WWE? Dub dub E, dub dub E, dub dub E. Sounds fucking atrocious. Or dub C dub, dub C dub, dub C dub. Like, this sounds like a speech impediment beyond all repair. Like, no amount of expensive speech therapy is fixing that shit. Oh no, where am I going with this? Nowhere. That's where. But that's enough about that. If this is your first time here, then welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Gamerboy Cameron, and this is episode 22 for the 24th of January 2022. And I've got a lot to talk about today. I've got a lot of backlog of topics to cover from early December right through to now. So there'll be a lot of things that I would have talked about over the course of the Christmas period that I didn't actually quite make it to the episode until now. So there'll be a lot of out-of-date topics, or topics that are just not relevant anymore, or topics that are ongoing and something might have changed since. So with that, bear in mind, and just be a little bit more aware that I'm not going to cover absolutely everything in the news right up until now. So I'll try and rectify that for the next episode, but in the meantime, I'm going to talk about Xbox taking over Activision, I'm going to talk about Dying Light, I'm going to talk about so many other things. So let's get into the topics, shall we? Once again, welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. Let's go. Oh my god, this is fucking mental. So, recently, Take-Two purchased Zynga, and then Microsoft just came swinging in and shouted, "Move over, bitch," because Phil Spencer and Xbox have just purchased Activision-Blizzard for $68.7 billion. That's almost $70 billion. Think about that. That's 70 million times 1,000. That is... It's absolutely shaking the gaming industry. It's shaking the gaming community to its very core. Everyone is talking about this. And it's crazy. But, like, we've all got so many questions going forward. It's like, for example, will Activision Blizzard games be Xbox exclusive from now on? Here's my take on it. So I've got a lot of questions, and I'm only going to narrow it down to about 3 or 4. So, will Activision Blizzard games be Xbox exclusive going forward? My original guess was no. But now, thinking more about it, I'm thinking, yeah, 100%. Like, you're buying that company for a reason. Why wouldn't you make those games exclusive? Did you really spend 70 billion smackaroonies to continue to share them with your direct competitor? No fucking way. No way. Like, this is absolutely crazy news. So, I'm going to pull it up on a news article that... Where did I see it? I've seen it everywhere, so all you need to do is just Google it and it'll come up. So, I'm going to pull it from Polygon. So, Polygon says Microsoft buys Activision for $68.7 billion. Activision Blizzard employees will ultimately report to Phil Spencer as CEO. This is by Maddie Myers at Polygon.com. Microsoft plans to acquire Activision Blizzard, publisher of some of the most popular games on the planet, from World of Warcraft to Call of Duty, as well as the studios currently embroiled in multiple lawsuits related to accusations of gender discrimination in its workplace, the company announced Tuesday. Xbox's boss, Phil Spencer, will serve as the CEO of Microsoft Gaming and oversee Activision-Blizzard once the transaction is finalised. The deal is worth... Jesus Christ, I still can't believe this. The deal is worth $68.7 billion, Microsoft said, the largest acquisition in the company's history. In a blog post about the acquisition, Spencer said that Microsoft will, and I quote, will offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalogue, end quote. As far as the discrimination lawsuits, Spencer's blog post and the announcement post from Microsoft made no direct mention of the situation. However, Spencer's post includes this paragraph about workplace culture. Quote, as a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming, among both employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures. We also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment, end quote. Activision Blizzard is currently facing multiple lawsuits and federal investigations, as well as calls for its CEO, Bobby Kotick, to resign over serious allegations of sexual harassment and assault at the publisher and its studios, including Blizzard. Kotick will remain CEO of Activision Blizzard until Microsoft's acquisition of the publisher closes, which is expected to complete in 2023, Kotick said in an email to employees. Quote, until we receive all the necessary regulatory approvals and other customary closing conditions are satisfied, which we expect to be sometime in Microsoft's financial 2023 year ending June 30th, 2023, we will continue to operate completely autonomously. What a word. End quote. Kotick said, and I will continue as our CEO with the same passion, enthusiasm I had when I began this amazing journey in 1991. Kotick said that as well. In November 2021, after more than 1,000 Activision Blizzard employees signed a letter calling for... Okay, look, this is going on and on about this whole Bobby Kotick thing. I'm trying to stay away from that because I don't know enough about it to make a judgment call. All I know is that Bobby Kotick is a terrible person and that he caused a horrible situation in that company that has caused so much industry-wide backlash, and I'm trying to see, I'm following it, but I'm not really following it because I don't know much about it and I don't want to give an opinion in case I end up being wrong. But all I do know is that Bobby Kotick is an arsehole and he needs to go. And yeah, I'll get to him in a second, but wow, this is, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, like I said, this clearly means that Activision Blizzard games going forward, at least starting at the very least, at the very earliest, at the middle of 2023, or at the very least 2024, Activision Blizzard games from that point will be Xbox exclusive. You're damn sure that'll happen. You'll be damn sure that'll happen. And it's caused some sort of paranoia amongst consumers as well, amongst people like PlayStation fans in particular, and not so much Nintendo fans, but PlayStation fans. People that are complaining and worried that there's going to be some sort of monopoly. And I think that's a little bit of hyperbole. I don't think it's going to be that big, to be blatantly honest. I don't think there's going to be a monopoly. I don't believe so. Because so long as PlayStation exists, and so long as Nintendo exists, unless Xbox does a Vince McMahon and buys up fucking everything gaming related, then no. Obviously, there won't be a monopoly. Microsoft will have to buy every video game developer on the planet for that to happen. And with any one single publisher that controls all things video games, you could expect prices of games to spike even higher if Xbox is the only player in town. Consoles to be the price of a high-end PC, because that console is the only thing you can get. It cannot happen. People also need to stop what they're doing, sit down, and look up what the term monopoly actually means, by definition. Oxford defines it as the complete control of trade in particular goods or of the supply of a particular service, a type of goods or a service that is controlled in this way. If you believe this is what will happen in terms of Xbox buying video game developers, then I will eat my hat and lick a leper's toes, because that just cannot happen. In fact, this goes beyond traditional console gaming. I know I said PlayStation and Xbox are Xbox's competitors. PlayStation and Nintendo are Xbox's competitors, but Phil Spencer said a while ago that the likes of Amazon and Google with their cloud services, those are the main competitors, in his words. So you have to think about that too. Xbox can't flat out buy everything. There's too much here. There's too much. And they won't. Now, going back to the Kotick situation. Look, it's... I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm not on Bobby Kotick's side. I think he should go. But he's going to leave with a sum of money. And you can't... That's not going to stop. That will happen. It's inevitable. You know? It's... Everyone's saying that he's going to leave with a golden parachute no matter what happens here. He will leave with a massive sum of money. And I said before that, yep, he can leave with as much money as he fucking well wants. There still needs to be consequences for his actions. We don't know how long that's going to take. I think the Activision-Blizzard situation is still being investigated by the California legal, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't actually know what it's called, but like the state of California is still looking in on it, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this is the 20th of January 2022, as I say this right this moment, but I don't think it's finished yet. I think it's still under investigation. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to speak wrong about anything, but yeah. But like again, the biggest acquisition in gaming history. It's incredible, but I wouldn't be panicking in saying that there's going to be a monopoly. Like, I don't know. I don't think so. So long as PlayStation, Nintendo, Amazon, Google, Stadia, like, as long as all those exists, I'll eat my words if Xbox flat out buys every single thing gaming related. So there has been an update to this story as well. So, like, Phil Spencer, like, I was originally saying that Xbox is definitely going to obtain Call of Duty as a Microsoft exclusive and will completely ditch PlayStation altogether with the excuse of, why would you buy the company for that amount of money if you're not going to do anything with it in terms of making games exclusive. However, and a quite a surprising twist to all this, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer wants to keep Call of Duty available on PlayStation and that it might not be an Xbox exclusive. So I'm pulling this from The Verge. Now, I know that I was writing up this story for this episode on the 22nd of January, but I didn't see this particular story until after I had already recorded it and put it on the file itself. So, like I said, this is coming from TheVerge.com, and the headline says, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer wants to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, and that the byline says that Call of Duty might not become an Xbox exclusive. This is by Jay Peters on The Verge, and it says, or Phil Spencer at least said on Twitter, that he had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honour all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision-Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. Phil Spencer wrote this on Twitter at 9:15 in the morning, our time. Sorry, at evening. It's 9:15 at night, January 20th, 2022. So in the middle of the afternoon for where he is. And about 172,000 likes, 7,000 responses. So he's basically given Call of Duty players a sigh of relief in that, or at least Call of Duty players on PlayStation a sigh of relief in that. Anyone who plays Call of Duty on PlayStation will still be able to play Call of Duty on PlayStation. Now, how long that will be, I don't know. Because it seems like, from my perspective, that Call of Duty Activision has some sort of licensed agreement with Sony and vice versa. And that maybe they have rights to have Call of Duty on their platform for the next so many titles. Maybe the next 2 titles or the next 3. I don't know. But as it stands, Call of Duty will be available on all existing platforms that it's already been on. I'm going to say until either the deal is closed or the licensed agreement between Sony and Activision has ended. In which case, Xbox might grab Call of Duty exclusivity after that point. Now, again, I might be wrong on this as well, because it just came to my attention, or my realisation, because I completely forgot about this, that Minecraft, the once juggernaut that was available on PC at first, and then just broadened its horizons and made itself available on pretty much everything, even mobile phones, ended up getting snatched by Xbox and is now owned by Microsoft, by Xbox. However, Minecraft remains on all platforms. Now, that still makes me think that Call of Duty may still be available on all platforms. However, Minecraft can't be delisted. Yeah, I don't think they can do that. In the same way, I don't think any current Call of Duty games will be delisted. New Call of Duty games that will begin development maybe after the deal closes and might end up being exclusive to Xbox. Any current Call of Duty games that are in development at the moment that will be released in the next 2 to 3 years will be available on all other consoles, including PlayStation. With the likes of Minecraft, there isn't a new Minecraft game coming out. You know, if we were to get a Minecraft 2, what would happen? Would it see itself be an Xbox exclusive or Microsoft PC exclusive and never see the light of day on anything else going forward? I have no idea. So, using Minecraft as an example makes sense and doesn't make sense at the same time. So, it begs the question, really, still. Will it eventually be an Xbox exclusive? Who knows? But, going by what Phil Spencer says, he said that he wants to continue allowing PlayStation to have Call of Duty on its platform. Because if PlayStation, like, how much did PlayStation lose? I think PlayStation stock or something went right down recently. I'm not sure where I saw that. I can't remember where I see. Oh, here we go. This was 5 days ago as I see this right now. Fucking ad block. Sony, after the acquisition of Activision-Blizzard by Microsoft, Sony's stock dropped 13%, about $20 billion drop in valuation results from Microsoft's recent announcement that So we don't know if I don't know anything about stocks. I just think it's interesting to see something like that happen after what we just witnessed in this past week. But now that we are now aware that it might not be as bad as we think, we might be okay. But what I do want to happen, and this is and I'm pretty sure this has already been confirmed. I think I just mentioned it earlier on, but it's pretty much confirmed that Bobby Kotick will leave Activision-Blizzard once the deal is finalised, and I say, once again, thank fuck, good riddance, and don't ever come back into this industry ever again, you piece of shit. You piece of absolute dog shit. Do not come back. Stay away from the gaming industry. You take your money and you fuck off. And don't come back, because nobody will welcome you back. At the very least, you should get reprimanded, and you should have serious ramifications for what you did while you were in charge. You sick, sick bastard. Anyway, next topic. I just want to give you a quick reminder that I know I said this already, but I'm going to say it again. But this is a very out-of-date episode of the GB Gaming Podcast, so I'm going to talk about the Game Awards. I know it was well over a month ago, but I've got some things I want to say, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to get through it. Here we go. So, since the last time I recorded an episode of this podcast, a lot has happened. The Game Awards happened, obviously. And it was a funny looking list of games that were nominated for Game of the Year specifically. And It Takes Two won it. Now, when you look at the list of games that were nominated for Game of the Year, it kind of makes sense. 2021 was a fairly quiet year for games. I'm not saying that the games that came out in 2021 were in any way bad. Just, it was quiet. Any major announcements, any major game releases that could have happened this year were delayed until this year, till 2022. So, I'm not surprised, really. But at the same time, the games that were nominated for Game of the Year were still good from what I've seen. I mean, the likes of Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. All good games from what I've seen. I've had the pleasure of playing at least one of them through to the end, and playing only a few minutes of another. I played Resident Evil Village recently, and I'll get to that in a minute, or two, or three, or four, or whenever I decide to get to the part where I'm talking about the games I've played. But I've played Resident Evil Village through to the end. I'll get to that in a minute. And I've also dabbled in Metroid Dread. I didn't play it properly yet. I've only played about 5 minutes because I've got other plans for me playing the Metroid series, which I'll get to later on. But from what I've played of those two games, at least I know for a fact of Resident Evil Village, fantastic game. Do not believe it was Game of the Year worthy. And I'll explain why later on. But It Takes Two seems like a solid game. I don't know if it deserved Game of the Year though. But like I said, it's been a quiet year. Any of these games could have won it, in fairness. So it doesn't really matter. Really? They're all Game of the Year contenders, which means they're all fantastic in their own right. But if I was to guess what game could have won it, I would have actually said Resident Evil Village until I played Resident Evil Village. Now I think it could have been possibly Metroid Dread or Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. But do you know what? Where am I going? Any of these games could have won it. So it was just a matter of eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It Takes Two won it, so I guess it deserves it. Other categories like Best Game Direction, Deathloop won that. Best Narrative, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm surprised at the level of praise that game's after getting. I mean, when I first seen Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, I talked about it when it was announced on a previous episode of this podcast, and I immediately just snubbed it. I immediately just went, nope, disregarding it. I know it's going to be shit. I thought it was going to be crap, but I was comparing it to the likes of the Avengers video game, which I've heard isn't great. So Guardians of the Galaxy I thought it was going to be rubbish, but then again, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably my least favourite Marvel property. Not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's shit, I just don't care about it as much as the others. I like it, I just don't care about it as much as the others. And my guess with going into this game was that it was going to be quite shit. But surprisingly, I heard good things about it. I've heard that it plays brilliant and the story is magnificent. So with that, compared to all the other games that were involved in this list of Best Narrative, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange, True Colors, Psychonauts, I guess Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and the fact that it won makes me feel like I might dive into this game this year, if and when I can. It looks good. I've seen gameplay footage of it. It looks good. Looks like a game I would enjoy. I guess we'll see. Best art direction went to Deathloop. Personally, I wouldn't have picked that. I'm not really a fan of Arcane Studios games. I'm not saying they're bad. The likes of Dishonored, those kind of games. Alexa, shut the fuck up. Arcane Studios, Bethesda, Deathloop and Dishonored, games like that, those are games that on surface I look at and say, that game looks Bethesda as fuck. And that's what Deathloop looked like to me. It's also a time loop game, a game where you die and start again and do it different ways. I don't know, the game didn't interest me that much, but I guess I can see why other people enjoy it. Not my kind of game, but I'm not going to judge it because I haven't played it yet. Maybe I will. One day. Best score in music went to Nier Replicant version 1.224744871139, or Nier Replicant if you want to shorten it. I've played Nier Replicant. I played it for a bit. I bought that and Nier Automata recently, and I've barely played any of the two of them yet. But best score in music, I haven't played much of it yet to appreciate the music in Nier Replicant yet, but I'm enjoying Nier Replicant from what I've played. It seems like one of those really large games, and the gameplay style surprised me. I didn't know what I was expecting, to be honest. I didn't know what kind of game it was. It seems like an action RPG, but it plays like Devil May Cry or Dynasty Warriors, really. I'm a massive hack and slash beat 'em up fan, and Nier Replicant's gameplay is very much my cup of tea in that regard. So that, mixed with heavy RPG elements, definitely looks like something I would enjoy, and I'm definitely putting it on the backlog. I do intend on playing it this year. I hope I do. It looks good. I bought it. I'm going to get my money's worth. I will play it. And the music, I've only heard a bit of the music and I haven't heard anything noteworthy. I'm very picky when it comes to what kind of music I enjoy in a game. My favourite soundtrack of all time probably goes to Metal Gear Solid. And if not that, I'd probably say Final Fantasy VII. But I'm very picky when it comes to video game music and what it is I prefer. But the fact that Nier Replicant won Best Score in Music excites me, because maybe it's a soundtrack that I will dedicate listening to on Spotify, because that's what I do. I like to listen to video game soundtracks, and if my Spotify statistics for 2021 is anything to go by, then it's a testament, because that was one of my biggest, most listened to genres, was video game music. I love video game music. It's hard for me to pick a favourite, apart from Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy, but video game music is an art in and of itself that is underappreciated by the masses, but it's fantastic. Best audio design. Now this one is weird for me. I don't know what I've never see. It's weird. Like audio design, is that? The description here says, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. It still sounds a bit not explained very well. I mean, what do you mean? I'm not very good at this. This is why when I do game reviews, when it comes to the sound and audio department, I kind of either brush it off or I don't talk about it at all, because I'm not very good at picking things out. I'm not very good at spotting when a game sounds good. And the winner here, Forza Horizon 5, against the other games here, it's like, well, wouldn't it be obvious then? I mean, this game is meant to make it sound like the cars are meant to sound accurate. What else is meant to? I don't get it. I don't get it. Forza Horizon 5 winning best audio design sounds like an unfair comparison compared to the other games, because when you listen to Resident Evil Village, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Deathloop, these were all other nominees for this award. It's making me think, obviously, Forza Horizon 5 would win it because everything in that game, from the sounds of cars to the sound of tyres hitting the ground, it's obviously going to sound better because it sounds real, because it's representing a real thing. Obviously. Is that what sound design is? I don't know. This is why audio is not my forte when it comes to video game critiquing, if I'm ever going to do that. Best performance. At first, I was like, "Yep, that sounds right." I'm talking about Maggie Robertson in her portrayal as Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village. Now, on the outside looking in, I'm thinking, "Yep, that makes sense." But then I played Resident Evil Village, and I'm like, she barely had a line. She barely spoke. Look, spoilers for Resident Evil Village. Lady Dimitrescu is only in the game for the first fifth. She's only in it for one small bit, and then you kill her in a boss battle and you don't see her again. She's not even in the game that long, and she barely speaks. I mean, she speaks for the fair amount of time that she's in it, but I'd say Heisenberg, who's another boss character in the game, got more screen time and voice time than Lady Dimitrescu did. So, in retrospect, in hindsight, it baffles me that she won Best Performance. I'm not saying that you need to do your performance longer for to be recognised as a better performer. I'm just saying that she only delivered a handful of lines. What could she have possibly done that was better than the other people that were involved in this list of best performers? You have Erica Mori as Alex Chen from Life is Strange True Colours, Giancarlo Esposito as Anton Castillo from Far Cry 6, Jason Kelly as Colt Van from Deathloop, and I apologise if I get this name wrong, but Ozioma Akaga as Juliana Blake in Deathloop. Now, I immediately go to Erica Mori as Alex Chen in Life is Strange, because Life is Strange is more of a cinematic experience than an actual game. Now, so it's the modern incarnation of a point-and-click adventure game. That's what Life is Strange is. So there's a lot of cinematics, a lot of voice acting, and those games are supposed to be really good in terms of the voice acting. So I'm confused as to how someone in a game like that got snubbed for the sake of Lady Dimitrescu, a character who's barely in the game. I mean, don't get me wrong, the performance is fine, but she sounds like Cruella de Vil. I don't know. That's just what I feel after playing Resident Evil Village. But it is what it is. I've always heard that the Game Awards can be a little bit biased depending on the type of game, and I'm guessing Resident Evil Village was a biased pick. That's what I think. And I also think that Lady Dimitrescu won that because of the fact that she was practically a meme since she was announced as a character in the game. Her meme status is bigger than her actual status in the game. And it sucks. But it is what it is. I can't change it. Games for impact. For a thought-provoking game with pro-social meaning or message. Well, the winner is Life is Strange True Colours. Now, I haven't played Life is Strange True Colours, so I couldn't possibly explain why it deserves it. And I also haven't played any of the other games that were nominated, so I couldn't possibly comment on them either. The other games that were nominated were Before Your Eyes by Skybound Games, Boyfriend Dungeon by Kit Fox Games, Chicory, A Colourful Tale by a lot of people. There's a lot of people here. And No Longer Home by, again, other companies. So, I've heard of Chicory. That's that cartoon drawing dog game. Never played it, but I've heard good things about it. So, whatever message that it was trying to to dole out in Life is Strange. I'm pretty sure that's why it won. I'm not really good for pointing shit out like this. I need to play more games. I really do. I keep playing the same shite. I don't open my eyes and play unknown games or indie games or anything like that. I mean, I tried to, but I don't know. I guess I've turned into this AAA bitch recently. Anyway, next category was Best Ongoing. This is games that obviously that came out years ago and are still being supported. This is obviously based on their popularity, and I am not surprised by what won. Final Fantasy XIV Online has shot in popularity over the last couple of years, and I'm not surprised that it won Best Ongoing. I'm surprised that No Man's Sky was not in this list. We've got Apex Legends, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, and Warzone. Surprised that Fortnite didn't win based on the fact that Fortnite is a behemoth. But I guess, I don't know. Final Fantasy XIV Online, I've heard a lot of good things about. I'm not going to play it because I just don't play MMOs. The only MMO I've truly played was World of Warcraft, and even then, I didn't even get to anywhere close to being the highest level to do all the big things that people do in that game, which is like raids and all the big endgame stuff. I never got to do any of that. I've got a short attention span, so I didn't bother. But I think I got to level 80 or something like that and then jumped out. That was me then. But yeah, I'm happy that Square Enix Final Fantasy XIV Online got the attention it deserved. Took a while to get there, but I'm happy that it's there. So yeah, I can see that being a deserving win for Final Fantasy XIV. Best ongoing game of the year. Best indie title. 12 Minutes was nominated. Now, I'm surprised that 12 Minutes was actually nominated because I've heard actually quite a lot of bad things about that game as opposed to good. I don't know if it's because of its status and the fact that it's got a bunch of big name actors in the game. But I suppose like games like this, stories are subjective, so maybe it was a lot better than I thought. But then you've got games like Death's Door, Inscription, Loop Hero, and then the winner was Kena Bridge of Spirits. I've heard a lot of good things about that game. I haven't played it myself. Like I said, I need to play more fucking games. But the fact that it won Best Indie has encouraged me to maybe try it out eventually, which I might do. Best mobile game went to Genshin Impact. Mobile games, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to snub this one because I'm not interested in mobile games at all. Best community support, the winner again was Final Fantasy XIV Online. That makes sense. Innovation and accessibility, the winner went to Forza Horizon 5. I think that makes a lot of sense considering what they announced was put in the game. And I don't know if it's in the game yet. I think they've maybe put it in now, but they said they were going to add an interpreter into the game for people who are hard of hearing. So, sign language, basically. So an interpreter is going to show up at the bottom corner of the screen, and whenever someone speaks in that game, you will be able to, if you've got hard of hearing, which you probably will not be listening to this if you do, but if you're someone that needs sign language, or if anyone you know needs sign language and they play Forza, this is good news for them. You know, and I think that's a great innovation, and other games should do this shit. I don't know how much it costs to get an interpreter put into your game, but if you're a multi-million-dollar company, you need to start using money for that kind of thing, because you're opening the door for more people. I like the addition of that. Best VR/AR. Resident Evil 4 won that. Why? Oh well. Oh yeah, Resident Evil 4 got a VR inclusion there a few months ago. Oh, that's quite cool. Best action game went to Returnal. I've heard a lot of good things about Returnal. Sounds like one of those roguelike games. I haven't played it myself because it's a PS5 exclusive and I don't have a fucking PS5. But it went up against Back 4 Blood, Chivalry 2, Deathloop, and Far Cry 6. So yeah, out of all those games, I can probably see Returnal winning that one. Best action/adventure went to Metroid Dread. Oh yeah, I can definitely see that winning that. This is probably recency bias, considering I've just started the Metroid franchise and I'm loving it. So I'm probably using that as my excuse to say that Metroid Dread deserved this award. And if Metroid Dread is anything like all the other Metroid games out there, especially the two that I've been playing recently, I can definitely see it winning that. Metroid is a fantastic game. I'll get to that later on. But I'm surprised that Resident Evil Village was put in this list. Best action adventure. For the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Now, if you're using the traversal and puzzle solving aspect, then yet Resident Evil fits that billing. But Resident Evil Village is a horror game. Oh, I don't know. Different strokes for different folks, am I right? Best role-playing game. Best RPG. Oof, this is a tough one. I know, the winner is Tales of Arise. Shin Megami Tensei 5, Scarlet Nexus, Monster Hunter Rise, Cyberpunk 2077. Tales of Arise, that's the Tales games, isn't it? I'm not mixing that up with the Tales games. Tales of Arise. Now, I've got a Tales game. What is it I've got? I have Tales of Vesperia. I can't read it from here. I've got that on PS4. It's the first and only Tales game I've ever owned. Tales of Arise being the latest one, I'm assuming. Yep, that's correct. The previous one being Tales of Berseria, and then the one before that being Tales of Vesperia. So Tales of Vesperia was released on the 360 in 2008, so this is the latest in that series. I haven't fully gotten into Tales of Vesperia because I wasn't a fan of the combat that they added. It was kind of weird. It took me aback. I wasn't a fan of it. I probably have to go back and try it again. I clearly dove into it blind. Bad idea. I should probably look up and see why the Tales games are so popular. I'll try Tales of Vesperia again at some point, but right now it's not the kind of game I want to be playing right now. Like, I love RPGs, I love JRPGs, but yeah, I've never beaten them. I never beat JRPGs, I'm always diving out before I finish them, and it's like, this whole thing where I'm enjoying playing the games, but I never beat them. I've beaten some, sure, but it never happens often. Anyway, best fighting game went to Guilty Gear Strive. Now, I've played a couple of Guilty Gear games. Very difficult, but rewarding as well, so I can probably, out of all these games, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why Virtua Fighter 5 is in this fucking list. Virtua Fighter 5 shouldn't have been here, in my opinion. That game came out years ago. Why it's in this list is beyond me. But it is what it is. It came out in 2021, so it deserves to be in the list, I guess. Like this version. I'm not a Virtua Fighter 5. I'm a Virtua Fighter 4 fan. I'm not a fan of Virtua Fighter 5. But Guilty Gear winning it, yeah, that makes sense, considering it's up against Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, Melty Blood, Type, Lumina, and Demon Slayer. Oh god. Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles. Best family game went to X Takes Two. Now, I heard about this award and the fact that It Takes Two is in there. When you put it up against the other games in this list, it stands out like a sore thumb. In what way is It Takes Two a family game? Now, I thought that, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, it kind of makes sense. It's not saying that you need to play this with your two kids and your wife and your dog and your granny. You know, I don't think it's that kind of family that they're talking about. I think what they're talking about is if you're a family of two, you and your wife, you and your friend, if you're living together, it's a family game because it's more than one person can play it and enjoy it. I think that's what they mean. In that case, why don't you just put in best multiplayer? I don't know. But the fact that it's up against Mario Party Superstars, which is a party game, now Pokemon Snap, I don't know what that means. Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, which is a multiplayer game. WarioWare, Get It Together, which is a party game, or a mini game. I don't know. It was weird. Best sim/strategy. I hate this fucking list. I hate this list. Because sim and strategy are completely different genres. It's like it's almost as bad as the sports list. Like, you put racing games up against football games or whatever. It's like, no. Change it, man. Best racing/driving games should be separate to best competitive sports games. It should be completely different. Best sim and strategy games, completely different. You've got Flight Simulator, which is different from Age of Empires 4. How it won, I don't know. But Age of Empires 4 won best sim/strategy. That doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Best sports/racing games. Here's what I'm talking about. You've got Formula 1 2021, FIFA 22, Hot Wheels Unleashed, Riders Republic, and Forza Horizon 5. 4 of these games are racing games, and one of them is a football game. I don't know. It makes sense that Forza won it, though. That game is fantastic. But FIFA 22 shouldn't be in here. It should just be best racing game. You know, put your sports games along the lines of NHL, Madden, blah, blah, blah. Don't put it in... I don't know. I don't get it. Best multiplayer game went to It Takes Two. Which... Jesus, It Takes Two is winning a lot of awards here. Current Content Creator of the Year. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to skip this one because I have no idea who these people are. Best Debut Indie went to Kena Bridge of Spirits. Most Anticipated Game went to Elden Ring, as opposed to God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, and Starfield. Yep, well, Elden Ring is one of those Souls games. That's definitely going to win that, especially considering that it's gone up against a bunch of exclusives. Elden Ring's obviously going to win that because it's going to be multi-platform as fuck. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West are exclusive to PlayStation. Starfield is exclusive to Xbox, and Breath of the Wild is exclusive to Nintendo. Elden Ring is on everything. Obviously, Elden Ring's going to win. Best esports game went to League of Legends. I don't do esports, so I couldn't possibly comment. Best esports athlete. Haven't got a clue who these people are. Sorry. Best esports team. Again. Best esports coach. Again. And best esports event. Again. Okay, I guess that's all of the winners of the Game Awards that occurred in 2021. I'm sorry that I took so long to talk about this, but it is what it is. Now that we've got that out of the way, I just want to include the fact that Little Nightmares 2 got snubbed hard. Little Nightmares 2 came out... Little Nightmares 2 came out in November of 2020, December 2020, which means it was technically eligible to be nominated for the Game Awards in 2021. Because the Game Awards nominees are chosen if the games are released between November of the previous year and the November of the following year. So, November to November, that is the window in which you can be nominated for that year's Game Awards. So, Little Nightmares 2, the fact that that game came out on December 9th, 2020, and it got no recognition is sad. Really, really sad. I thought that game was fantastic. It's my personal game of the year of within that time frame. I'm surprised. I'm very, very much surprised that it got completely ignored. I think that's the curse of releasing your game in December, is that you have the potential of being completely ignored for the following year. And I thought that sucked. And during the Game Awards, we got an announcement about Star Wars Eclipse by Quantic Dream. And a lot of people were kind of annoyed by this. Like, I think it was mainly due to the fact that David Cage is involved in this and there's a lot of controversy surrounding him. I can't remember what that controversy was. I had this written out in December and I completely forgot what the fuck happened. What did they do? Oh, yeah. Toxic work environment and shit like that. Yeah. But look, it wouldn't matter what game they would have made next. It will, like, be it Star Wars or anything else. Like, if Quantic Dream made any game, this would have gotten backlash. You know? Like, Quantic Dream are in a bad place regardless, and by the looks of things, they need to work on that. Like, fans don't need to worry, though. Like, let them make it and see how it turns out. Like, Star Wars fans can rest assured that there are already other projects in the works, such as the remake for Knights of the Old Republic, and possibly a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, whenever that gets announced. So, I don't think this coming out is going to be much really a bad thing. The game itself could be good. But, like, just be grateful that Star Wars is no longer in the hands of fucking EA. That's all I'm happy about. Anyway. Yeah, that's all the Game Awards shit that I'm going to talk about now. Dying Light 2 is coming out on February 4th, I want to say. I don't know. But, the developer released this tweet on the 8th of January, and it's garnered a lot of attention, both negative and positive. I'm on the negative side. Let me explain. The tweet says, to fully complete Dying Light 2 Stay Human, you'll need at least 500 hours, almost as long as it would take to walk from Warsaw to Madrid. And that triggered something in me. I did not like this at all. And then they go and say, it's about 100% completion rate. Most of the players who are in for the story and side quests will be able to complete the game quicker. It will still be a solid experience throughout. Or solid experience though. And I don't know. I don't think you touting 500 hours to complete the game 100% is just off-putting. That's bloat. What could you possibly add here that would be variable for 500 hours? Like, what else are you adding? I mean, 80 hours of story content is what I'm hearing. That's still a lot. And then they updated it afterwards saying that 500 hours is related to maxing out the game, finishing all the quests, endings, and exploring every part of the world. But a regular player should finish the story and side quests and do quite a lot of exploring in less than 100 hours. So don't worry. I mean, even 100 hours, and look, it's clearly obvious that maybe Dying Light 2 isn't the game for me right now. You know, maybe that's the problem. Maybe I'm looking for that to be the game I want it to be and not for the game that it actually is. I could just step away and not buy it, and that's probably what I'm going to do. I enjoyed the original Dying Light, but I don't really remember much of it. It was a different time as well. You know, I didn't have the schedule I have now. So, maybe Dying Light 2 would have suited me 9 years ago, but it doesn't suit me now. But it didn't stop me from having an opinion piece on it. Because I just don't like, do not, I don't know. I said, stop using play hours to advertise your game. Like, you've actually turned me away from it, is what I said. And 80 hours for a campaign is mental. Absolutely mental. And I wrote that on my Twitter account, and I also responded to them and said, well, where is it? I lost it. Where is it? I fucking lost it. But I said something along those lines where I responded to them by saying that I didn't agree with that shit. Here we go. Yeah, that was it. Someone said, I would be happy if the game could be completed in 60 hours or 100 at max. I hate games that require so much time. And Dying Light developers said, you can complete it faster. 500 hours is 100% required, or required to 100% the game. And of course, not many people will do that with a smiley face. And I got annoyed at that. I said, don't say that with a smile. You're turning away a lot of players who were otherwise excited to get it. And then someone responded to me, and I'm going to just... Blech. Typical snowflakes of today scared of a bit of hard work, is what he said to me. And I'm just going to give you the script of what... I've muted this thread because I just didn't want to fucking engage with this person. But he goes, snowflakes of today. And I said, I've been playing games since 1993. Since when was playing games meant to be hard work? Forgive me for not having 500 hours to spare in a single video game and balance a full-time job. Otherwise, I'm a snowflake with lack of drive to work. And he goes, regardless of how much fun you have, everyone puts work into a game. Yeah, it may be fun work, but it's work. Since you have been playing since 1993, people would expect better from you. I've been playing before you, and this is brilliant news. I bet you're the type that moans about no content. On the contrary, buddy. I never complain about having no content in a game. I do complain when a game has way too much bloat. And there's no way that 500 hours of stuff in this game is not going to be grossly repetitive. And I call it respecting a player's time, and this game clearly isn't doing that. And then he responded to me by saying, respecting a player's time is the funniest thing I've ever heard, so tell me a game that is not repetitive in any way. And I just got fucking triggered. I just said, games by design are repetitive if you want to simplify it, but I'm talking about variety in mission structure. How can a 500-hour game be variable? Also, can you debate with someone without being a dick about it? We can agree to disagree, but you don't need to act like a cunt. And I said, I'm fully entitled to say I disagree with this 500-hour shit, but you don't need to white knight it and be a dick at the same time. You can disagree, contradict, argue the opposite and change the perception, but don't be a dick. And then he said, you're the one being a dick, and I'm like, okay, I'm a dick. Muted. I don't know what he said afterwards. I'm going to read it now. This is a first. Exclusive. Here's what he said. Nothing. Sorry. On my screen it says there is a hidden reply here, reveal, press show to reveal, and I clicked it and nothing showed, so he obviously said something and then blocked me. That's more or less what it looks like. He actually supports the same football team I support. He's a Celtic fan. There is a picture here that he sent recently, and it was a crying face. Nothing to do with me. He's just, never mind. Yeah. No, I personally don't agree with the whole 500-hour thing, but if that's your jam, then go ahead. Another update to this Dying Light fucking stupid story, and that, like, it's like the developers just aren't getting it through their head. Because not only did we have to listen to them brag about how long their game was going to be, and then, like, bring it back a notch, like, knock it down a peg, by saying, oh no, it's really going to be 50 hours, or no, it's really going to be 20 hours, or blah blah blah. Now, after all that, now they're going on about saying how much fucking lines of dialogue they're going to have. Like, for fuck's sake, just stop it. Just stop it, right? Nobody cares. Now, I get it, yeah, you're promoting the game that you're really happy that you made, and that you're so happy about it, but it's like, come on. Would you just, like, we get it. Like, so many other games have so many other lines of dialogue, and it's noted, and people find out about it, but you're using this as a marketing strategy. Like, just stop. Just stop. Who? Why? On January 19th, 2022, again, something that I just completely missed it. But after saying this whole fucking shite about Dying Light 2's ridiculous length that it takes to do everything in the game and then walking it back. Now they're saying like this fucking lines of dialogue pish. On January 19th, 2022, they're saying, this is what they wrote on Twitter. 350,000 words, 40,000 lines of dialogue. That's the world we've built for you in Dying Light 2 Stay Human. Are you ready? Are you ready to explore it? And it's like, ugh, who cares? Someone actually wrote, this makes me want to play it less. Who wants to sit there and hear that much dialogue? Thanks for the heads up, I guess. And now, the other end of that is saying, why are you upset? Well, I kind of get this. It's, why are you upset over words? Your response had 25 in it. Very quick read. And someone else argued back, I'm personally okay with it. The game is going to have a lot of game-changing decisions, and if you have little info to go off of, how are you going to make a choice? Now, maybe it's just the fact that this kind of thing doesn't really get advertised, so it's like we don't think about it. So, like, if we were to go back and read how much lines of dialogue was in, say, I don't know, fucking Skyrim. How many lines of dialogue is in that? How many lines of dialogue is in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim? I don't know. I mean, I'm running into an article that says that Starfield has 150,000 lines of dialogue, which is like half of what Dying Light has, which is interesting, actually. I can't find an article that states how many lines of dialogue that Skyrim has, especially, like, Skyrim has 60,000 lines of dialogue, apparently. Okay. Right? So let's just think of that. Oh, sorry. No. Sorry, I misread all that. Now, 350,000 words. 40,000 lines of dialogue. So Dying Light has 40,000 lines of dialogue. Okay? And Skyrim has 60,000 lines of dialogue. But even then, that's still like, you shouldn't be advertising this, because nobody thinks about that. Now, like I said, if we were to like, we're only finding out that Skyrim has 60,000 lines of dialogue, right? It wasn't big news, it wasn't a marketing ploy, it wasn't a marketing strategy or anything like that. But if it was, if this was something that Bethesda was throwing out on Twitter, we would have probably gotten the same reaction where it's like, why are you showing us this? Now, on the other side of that, maybe back then, if we heard about something like that, if we heard about a game being this many hours long and having this many lines of dialogue, maybe back then we would have went, whoa, look at the size of this. This is amazing. I really want to get this game now. But we are now in an age where people typically have a very short attention span, or they're just realising that more and more games are not for them. And maybe that's what's happening to me in this regard. In the case of Dying Light 2, maybe it's just not going to be for me anymore. The whole fucking 500 hours thing just put me right off immediately. And this whole fucking 40,000 lines of dialogue thing is also kind of putting me right off, because I just want to play the game. I just want to turn the game on and fucking play it. I don't care how long it is. And I do, but I don't at the same time. And I don't care how many lines of dialogue. I really don't care how many lines of dialogue is going to be in this game. So why advertise this? Are there people out there who want to know this information? I get that you're happy and you're proud of the work you put into this game, but this is not what we're looking for. It's impressive, I guess, but it's like, you're telling us this and we're all collectively going, yeah, and so what? It's not what we're looking for. It's impressive, but it's not what we're looking for. We just want to play the game. I hope the game succeeds, because every developer deserves to have a good game succeed. And I hope it is good, and I hope it succeeds. But at the moment, it is not for me. I want to see, like, because I played the original Dying Light, and from what I played, I didn't play that much. Because that game is big, and it got even bigger with more content, right? That game was a fart in the wind for me, right? It was there and it was gone. I don't remember it that much. And if I'm going to get into another Dying Light game, I want to remember it. And I want my time to be respected. And Dying Light 2 doesn't look like that type of game as I'm seeing it right now. So I'm going to wait until the smoke has cleared, so to speak, and then I'll make a decision on whether or not it's worth my time. But as it stands, you're advertising the wrong shit. Advertise the game, not how long it's going to take to do everything, and not how long it's going to take for me to listen to everything. Moving on. Mario Kart 9 is in development. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, Mario Kart 9 is said to be in development as of late. This is reportedly in development with a quote-unquote new twist. I'm going to pull this from GameSpot.com, and it says, Mario Kart 8 and its upgraded Mario Kart 8 Deluxe have been huge successes for Nintendo, but it appears a successor is finally speeding towards the development finish line. According to a game industry consultant, Mario Kart 9 is in the works and will include a new twist, as if we expected to get anything less from Nintendo. Speaking to GamesIndustry.biz, Canton Games consultant Dr. Serkan Toto gave several predictions for 2022, but one of them was more of an inside scoop than a prediction. Toto said Mario Kart 9 is in development now and noted that Mario Kart as a brand has been relatively quiet since the mobile-only Mario Kart Tour launched a few years ago. He says, I am aware that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling very well on the Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 9 is in active development and comes with a new twist, and Nintendo could tease it this year. With the Nintendo Switch already approaching its 5-year anniversary, would this new game appear on the Switch or would it come to whatever system is planned next? That remains to be seen, as does Nintendo's confirmation of the game's existence, but it would be unlike the company to have more than one Mario Kart game on a system. That has never happened before, with the SNES, GBA, N64, GameCube, DS, Wii, Wii U, 3DS and Switch all receiving one game, unless you count the physical kart spin-off Mario Kart Live. However, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which has sold nearly 39 million units, was an upgraded version of the Wii U port. So it's possible Nintendo will make an exception. As for the twist, well, we can only guess what Nintendo could be cooking up. Previous games introduced dual passenger vehicles like Double Dash, gliding from Mario Kart 7, and anti-gravity from Mario Kart 8. If we do hear more on the game, it will possibly be around E3, if that even happens this year. Well, obviously it is happening, but digital only. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah. New twist. What could they possibly add apart from any or all of previous features that may not have been brought back from Mario Kart 8? You know, the gliding thing or the double passenger thing, like, that could come back. Mario Kart 8 Ultimate, or whatever it's called, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, felt like the Smash Ultimate of Mario Kart titles. Aside from the absent tag team mechanic from Double Dash and maybe the glide mechanic, I felt like they achieved everything they needed to achieve with this series. There's a reason it sold as well as it did across both Wii U and Switch. I mean, fucking hell, 40 million! Like, Jesus! It's the definitive Mario Kart experience. Does that mean that they can't innovate further? No chance. I'm sure they have something up their sleeve, and I might have an idea or two of what they could add for Mario Kart 9. What about non-Nintendo characters, such as, I don't know, say, Sonic the Hedgehog? Could you imagine them doing some sort of Sega-Nintendo crossover? One side of me, I've got two sides to this. One side of me says, if they can do it with Smash Brothers, I don't see how they couldn't do it with Mario Kart. But the other part of me reckons it would be a disservice to any non-Nintendo character to be included in a game where Mario is front and centre. You see, the thing with Smash Brothers is that nobody is front and centre. everyone shines equally. And with Mario Kart, whether you see it in any other way or not, it is in fact a Super Mario game. And with that, if they were to bring non-Nintendo characters and have their respective developer/publisher not be outshined because of this title character, I would rename the series at that point. Call it, I don't know, Super Kart Brothers. Or Nintendo Kart, or something. You know, something daft like that. But if you're not going to put non-Nintendo characters into the game, how about this? How about a Battle Royale? I mean, given the fact that this is an extremely popular genre and game mode, I would actually be shocked to not see it come into the Mario Kart series, if it's not already in it. Like, I know they've done Eliminator-type modes in the series before, like, where you start off with about 12 cars or racers, and every time you pass the finish line, the people in last get knocked out. I've seen that before. But what about if they'd done it in the style of, like, battle mode? Why not make a better use out of that mode? Put every single character onto one map, and the rest writes itself. I don't know. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I honestly don't know what else they could possibly add to Mario Kart at this stage. But I'm all up for surprises, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And I will probably, definitely buy Mario Kart 9 whenever it appears. Ghost of Tsushima celebrates 8 million copies sold, and the developer of Days Gone is jealous. Let me explain. So, Ghost of Tsushima. Critically acclaimed title that was exclusive to PS4 has now been released on PS5. Sold a total of 8 million copies recently. And the developer of Days Gone is a little bit bummed out by this. There was a tweet made a few days ago, or a few weeks ago maybe, and well, it's kind of sad really, but it's like, what were you expecting? And I'll explain now. Hold on, let me just find it. Jeff Ross, who I think worked on Days Gone. Yeah, he was the game director for Days Gone. He's no longer working for Sony, but he said on Twitter, in response to the 8 million copies sold for Ghost of Tsushima, he said, "At the time I left Sony, Days Gone had been out for a year and a half and a month, and sold over 8 million copies. It has since gone on to sell more, and then 1 million plus on Steam. Local studio management always made us feel like it was a big disappointment." And at first I thought, yep, well, that does suck, because that's a lot of sales. It should garner a sequel and all that shit. But then I started to think more of it, and I'm like, is it really was it really a success when you think about it? And I was listening to Kinda Funny. They are a video game / movie / entertainment media focused podcast ran by Greg Miller and a bunch of other people that used to work in IGN. They now do a podcast where they focus on video games, movies, all sorts of stuff within the media, or they just talk shit for random things, whatever. I've been listening to them for a good few years now, and I was listening to Greg Miller's take on this, and I'm going to shorten it, because he went on for a good solid 10-15 minutes, and it just made me think, you are absolutely 100% right, because now I've got a different perspective on this, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's ridiculous how it makes this guy Jeff Ross come across as a little bit tone deaf, as a little bit stuck up. It's when Days Gone first released, apparently it didn't sell that well, and the media and the review scores weren't very generous to it, weren't very kind to it. It got mediocre to fairly okay reviews. People liked it fine. They didn't really like it that much. They thought it was just another zombie game that didn't do anything new. And Greg Miller said something along the lines of, Days Gone came out around a time or was being developed started development around a time where the likes of Sons of Anarchy and The Walking Dead were at the peak of their popularity. And had Days Gone have released around that time, it might have gotten a little bit more positive feedback and it would have been received better. But then, that's gone now. Not so much gone. Sons of Anarchy's now gone. The Walking Dead's not nearly as popular as it used to be. And zombies just aren't a popular thing. Now, there's a few things I want to point out. First of all, I'm going to talk about the whole zombie thing. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to talk about the 8 million views, million sales figure. Now, that game came out and it didn't sell well. And I refer back to a time where someone said something along the lines of, if you don't buy a game at launch, you will not get a sequel, or something along those lines. And I'm going to try and find it because I don't want to miss out on my... Aha, found it. Days Gone lead developer said way back in April of 2021 that don't complain if there's no sequel if you didn't buy it full price. So it was David Jaffe. He said, I do have an opinion on something that your audience may find of interest, and it might piss some of them off. If you love a game, buy it at fucking full price. I can't tell you how many times I've seen gamers say, yeah, I got that on sale, I got it through PlayStation Plus, whatever. And at first, I thought that was a bad take, because I'm thinking to myself, well, what if we just don't like it? And we don't know if it's going to be good. I'm not paying full price for a game if I'm not sure if it's going to be good. Okay? That's one point I'm going to make. This all lumps together. And in a case of if anyone's an arsehole, everyone sucks here in this situation. Everyone sucks. We suck. The developer sucks. The reviews suck. You know, it's everyone is an arsehole in this instance. Including ourselves as gamers, as consumers, and I'm going to put all of this into one bit if I can, so bear with me. I'm going to try my best to explain this. So, he said, buy a game at full fucking price, otherwise you're not going to get a sequel, okay? Okay, fine. Let me put this into a different perspective. So, everyone's bought Days Gone at launch, okay? And it sells 8 million copies, and then you've gone and greenlit a sequel, and everyone's happy, your game is reviewed highly well, and it's gotten all this positive feedback, everyone's happy, it's a success. That's the best case scenario, right? That's not what happened here. Days Gone sold 8 million copies and another million on Steam over the course of its existence, right? But it took a long time to get there. Why did it take a long time to get there? Because when the game launched, reviews came in, and it got mediocre reviews, okay reviews, it was received okay, and people were saying it was just another zombie game, including myself. I said this as well. I remember writing on Twitter saying that, now, don't get me wrong, I was enjoying Days Gone, but it didn't stop me from thinking this was just another zombie game where the zombies behave like zombies, and they do the same thing that zombies do, and the director, or the designer of the game, forgive me if I'm forgetting his name, but he came on to me, and he said that they are creepers, they are not zombies, definitions matter. And I had a lot of people, or a couple of people at least, coming onto his side and white knighting him and attacking me for not giving the game a chance and blah blah blah, and that the definition of zombie is not what describes these people, these enemies, and that like you need to keep playing the game to find out why they are not zombies in the traditional sense and blah blah blah. And at first, then I immediately retracted my statement and said that I will keep playing and I'll see what happens, blah, blah, blah. I played through the game. I saw why they could be not zombies, and why they were not zombies, and why they were creepers, or whatever it was they were called, and why there's a difference. But I had to play through most of the game to find that out. Now, that's me agreeing with the designer because he knows better, okay? And I thought at the time, okay, that's it sorted. I now know what the game is. People were way too underappreciative of Days Gone because at that point I'm thinking they were. And I suppose to this day they still are. Days Gone is not nearly as bad as people say it is, and it's not nearly as cliche as people say it is. But here's the problem. When you released that initial trailer for Days Gone, where we saw the lead protagonist driving around on his bike or whatever it was, and all of a sudden he's getting chased by all these creepers up on top of a sawmill or whatever it was, on top of this building, and they're all attacking him, and from our perspective, they are zombies. We are seeing zombies. You have shown us this trailer at E3 or at the Game Awards or at PlayStation X or whatever it was, and we are seeing someone getting chased by and shooting down zombies. That's what it looks like to us at first glance. They are zombies. At no point did you say that these were not zombies, or at no point did you explain why they weren't zombies. You showed us zombies. And at that point, people were like, another zombie game. It's 2018 or 2017 or whenever it was you showed it. This is a tired trend. We don't want to see more zombies. We're done with zombies. These are zombies. And then the interest in the game wasn't as high as maybe much of us thought. We were all going to do that smart thing where we wait on reviews coming in. And people who reviewed the game, you've got to play that game under embargo, you've got to play that game and review it in time for the game coming out, in which case, you are going to play through the game in a very strict and stringent manner. You're not going to play it in a way that you would play it at home without needing to review it. And you're going to play through this game and you're going to be doing nothing but exploring the open world and killing zombies, what you know are zombies. At first glance, they are behaving and acting like zombies. And people get... No, do you know what? I'm not going to make that point because I can't remember. I was going to say that people get bit in this game and they also turn into zombies. I think I'm right. I don't think I'm right, actually. I think I might be wrong on that part. But regardless, people would have reviewed this game and they would have said, look, it's another zombie game. I'm going to pull up Days Gone Metacritic and I'm going to look at the official reviews for this game just to see an example on what I'm trying to say here, where they are saying that this is just another zombie game and we had no reason to believe that it wasn't. Daily Star, newspapers don't count. So, US Gamer, the zombie apocalypse is a well-trodden territory, okay? Gamer.nl, Days Gone is a blend of multiple open world and zombie games. And then you had companies like Game Revolution. Days Gone is one of the better zombie games in recent years. Gamer Sky, the concept, atmosphere, some parts of Days Gone gameplay was very similar to The Last of Us. Considering it's an open world game, it's even more fun than The Last of Us in terms of exploring, dealing with thousands of zombies. Game Revolution, I said the zombie thing. Game Informer, Days Gone has good gameplay foundations, the scarcity of supplies, and ever-present threat of zombies. It's worth a go if you're a zombie fan, that's Game Planet. True Gaming, zombies rushing to feast upon you until the second half of the game. Sorry for the spoiler. Metro Montreal, I came for the zombies, but I stayed for the bike. US Gamer, Zombie Apocalypse, Zombie Spectacles, Zombie Slaying Classic. IGN, hordes of zombies. Do you know? You weren't making it very clear that these weren't zombies, right? So as such, everyone's went into this game expecting a zombie game, and it's nothing special, and it's not. So that's also dropped the opinion a bit. So therefore, the reviews of the game have ended up being an average of 71% on Metacritic, because it looks, on surface, like another zombie game. The user score is slightly higher, and that's what I'm going to get to. This game ended up going on sale at least a month after its release, because nobody was buying it, because everyone was put off by the whole zombie thing, because we're not playing zombie games anymore. You didn't make it clear that these were not zombies. So people have just waited until it went on sale, or they've waited until it's available in stores pre-owned, and they've gone out and bought the game then. And then it became available on PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now. And that's when your sales are coming in, because it's now a lot cheaper. People think that it is now worth that money, and they've come to realise that It's more than just a zombie game. But we were not willing to risk paying €60 to find that out. That's too much money to some people. Far too much money. So, as a result, your game did eventually sell 8 million copies, but it sold 8 million copies when it went on sale. So don't tell us to buy a game on launch when you're not very clear on what this game is. All we saw was an open world game in that you get chased by zombies. Nothing else. Oh sure, it's got a story, but it looks nothing different to The Walking Dead or The Last of Us. You still got zombies chasing you. It took the game going on sale for us to think, let me try it out. Oh, it's actually a lot better than we realised. But that isn't on us. That's on you, the developer, the designer, to tell us that this is more than just a zombie game. So in that regard, yes, your game was a failure. Yes, your game didn't live up to the sales expectations it should have. No, it is not as successful as it should have been, because your 8 million copies sold is much more bleak than Ghost of Tsushima's 8 million copies sold. Why? Because Ghost of Tsushima showed exactly what it was, and everyone was clamouring for a Japanese Assassin's Creed style game, and who better than Sucker Punch? So yes, the reason why Ghost of Tsushima is more successful with their 8 million copies sold is because everyone knew what it was when they were getting into it, and they bought it on launch because they knew exactly what it was, and that is what people wanted. You sold a game that was sold full price on launch that not everybody was interested in because the zombie trend is dead and buried, so to speak. Because you made it look like another zombie game, and that is why your game sold 8 million and was regarded as a disappointment, then Ghost of Tsushima's 8 million is regarded as a success. It's not as black and white as 8 million copies sold equals success. So don't sit there and collectively spit out, buy the game on launch, and then you'll get a sequel to then defending the fact that your game sold 1 million copies and you got nothing for it. And the reason why it sold 1 million on Steam is because people have now come to realise that the game is a lot better than what was initially perceived. But you didn't make that message clear. You didn't make that clear, and that is why, even though your game sold 8 million copies, it took a long time for us to get to that point where the game is a lot better than we initially expected. But that's not our fault. So yes, we would like a sequel, but we understand we're not going to get that, but that is no reason to get up on your high horse and tell us we should have bought the game on launch. We're not going to buy a game on launch believing that, we don't do that. We're more smart than we used to be. We will not buy a game on launch, and we will especially not buy a game on launch if the reviews aren't up to the standard of what a lot of gamers come to expect. And a 71 on Metacritic in regards to AAA games isn't great. Ghost of Tsushima, we knew exactly what that was going into it, and that's why it sold well on launch. And we're going to get a sequel, probably. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Okay. Man, I'm all over the place with this episode of the GB Gaming podcast. And I have a second monitor up in front of me, and I'm just kind of browsing as I'm talking about each topic. And there's one window I've got up, and it's just making me reflect and think, it's insane what Microsoft now own. They own Activision-Blizzard, we know that, but they also own Bethesda. You know, they own fucking so much companies now. It's crazy. But it's not just the companies, it's the games that they own. And I didn't really stop to think hard enough about it, because, with Bethesda, they own Dishonored, Wolfenstein, The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Starfield, Prey, The Evil Within. They own those games. You know, they own Halo, they own Gears, we all know that. But now, with Activision-Blizzard, it's not just Call of Duty they own. It's fucking StarCraft, Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo. It's so fucking mental. Like, it's crazy, because, like, with that, the studios that they own is Toys for Bob, the people behind Crash Bandicoot, Demonware, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, Beanox, High Moon, Raven, and Treyarch. They own access to so many games now that it's so crazy to look at. I mean, Diablo. Fucking Diablo, man. Jesus. I mean, while we're on the topic of Diablo, let's talk about Diablo. So, Diablo's been in the news recently because, and not for the good reason, and it's crazy, but Diablo 2 Resurrected, the recent remaster of the Diablo 2 game, which was released, I think it was either November or whenever it was, but anyway, it's came to my attention and the attention of many others that if you have not logged into whatever gaming service it is you're playing, if you have not logged in, if you've not been online basically in 30 days, you will be kicked offline on Diablo 2, which means you can't play it at all unless you check in and basically say, I'm here, I'm online, and then you can play it again. So this was I first noticed this on the 17th of January on Twitter. Someone called @DoesItPlay. @DoesItPlay1, that's the name of the Twitter username that posted this, and it's after getting so many thousands quote tweets, 1,000 retweets, 4,000 likes, and it says, you cannot play Diablo 2 Resurrected after 30 days of being offline, one of the first console games to feature check-in DRM. It serves no real purpose and can be removed with hacks. Dark times. Now, this is... okay, it's not so much a surprise for the likes of PC gaming or the likes of that, like, but for console games, this is a bit jarring. It's... I don't know. I think it's like I'm of two minds of it. On one mind, I'm like, yeah, it sucks. We shouldn't have to be checking in every 30 days minimum or maximum to prove that we're still an active user or whatever. I mean, what if I've gone away on holiday for a month and I've took my Switch with me and I can't log in, and you know what I mean? Like, is it even on Switch? I don't know. But on the other side, I think it's blown out of proportion. Like, Blizzard clearly looked at the numbers here, and it must be the case of the majority of gamers clearly have access to the internet. You're not being kicked out of the entire game a la PT. It's not being delisted from the service. It's not like you log in after 30 days, you can no longer play it. This is clearly just check in every 30 days, even if it's for like 10 seconds. And then you can continue to play the game, even if you're playing offline. Nintendo does the same thing with its Nintendo Online service. Like, after 30 days of online inactivity, all it does do is a server check and removes access until such time as you log into the internet, in which case it allows you to access the game. It's not that big of a deal. Like, if you're online complaining about this, then it's a non-issue. Because you have easy access to the internet, you're moaning about nothing. Like, I'm not trying to stand up for this practice, I think it's wrong. But it's not a big deal because it is like... I've seen... correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen it. But I have to ask, has there been a case where someone has logged in to a forum or Twitter or anything to say, this happened to me, I couldn't play my game for this long, for this length of time, because I was offline for a month? Has there ever been a case where someone has logged in to complain about this in such a way that it needs to be newsworthy? I don't think so. Like, besides, and I'm playing devil's advocate, who's playing Diablo 2 or any Diablo game with zero internet access of any kind? Diablo is Diablo is a fantastic computer RPG, you know, and it's best played online. It's like having something like, I don't know, an online only shooting game with an offline bot mode if you want to do that. And who's complaining about not being able to play offline on that? Do you know what I mean? It's like, yes, Diablo 2 can be played offline, but you're not really playing it offline. I mean, people that play games nowadays, 90% of the time, I want to imagine, like, at least the majority are playing online. They're logged in some way. Like, everyone in the first world almost has an internet connection. It's not unheard of, or it is rather unheard of to not in this day and age. You know, the internet is everywhere now at this point. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if this was the year 1999 and this was happening, or the mid 2000s coming into the early 2010s, then I would understand wholeheartedly. But we're in 2020 now. We're in 2022 now. And this is a non-issue. I think people are just complaining for the sake of complaining. Although I get the principle at the same time. You shouldn't be locking people out of a game. Especially when you're the developer of a game. You shouldn't control whether or not people should be able to, like, that shouldn't happen. Maybe after 6 months, it should do a check to see if you're, like, I guess this is to check to see if you're an active user. They don't want dead users on their game servers. But I haven't played World of Warcraft in like 5 or 6 years. Or however long that was. Longer, actually. About 7 or 8 years? 9 years? 10? 2012 maybe was the last time, or 2013 was the last time I played World of Warcraft. I don't even know if my game exists. I haven't played it in a long time. Now, I don't know if it means I have to log into the game, or is it the Blizzard servers? Probably the Blizzard servers. Still. It's kind of... I get it on both sides. I get the principle. But it's not a big deal if you already have access to the internet. I mean, who are you speaking for at that point? I don't know. I don't get it. Man, how old is Diablo now, actually? The Diablo series has been out for a very long time. And, like, Diablo 2 is probably the first one I ever played. I think I might have played Diablo 1. Fucking Jesus, I don't know. See, the Diablo series is not a series I properly got into because it's an action role-playing game that is mostly played on PC. I mean, it did come to PlayStation. I don't know about Diablo 2, but I got into Diablo properly when I played Diablo 3. I mean, I played that game to death, especially when it came to PS4, and I used to play that cooperatively with my brother and my now fiance. Like, and I've had my fill with that game, and they're brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing what Diablo 4 is like, but the Diablo 2 remaster looks pretty good. And I missed out on Diablo 2. I mean, it would be good to play that game in a modern setting, with modern visual upgrades or anything like that, but I was kind of waiting to see if it was actually going to be received well, because of the shit show that was Warcraft 3 Remastered. I don't know. I think Diablo 2 was received well. I'm sure it was received well, but Diablo 1 came out in 1997. That's old. Nowadays, that is considered retro, isn't it? In fact, that's a good question. How long does a game or console have to be considered retro? I've got a take on this now. I mean, there's people that go by generations, years since console release, and some go by strictly 16-bit or below. Personally, I go by... See, it depends on if it's whether I'm talking about a console or a game. It kind of varies, but in terms of consoles, I go by the amount of years since a console has ceased production. So, in my books, if a console has gone 10 years since production officially ceased, then it's classed as retro to me. For example, the Xbox One has officially ceased production. Now, I don't know if it ceased production in 2022 or 2021. But, so, anyway. But to me, in the year 2032, or whenever, the Xbox One will become retro to me. And it's like the Wii U, that stopped production almost a year after it came out. I think the moment the Switch came out, the Wii U just stopped being produced. So when did the Wii U stop being produced? I'm going to say 2017, for example. I'll just say 2017. I don't know. But let's just say 2017. So in 2027, that console will be a retro console to me. Now, in terms of games, that's a tough one, actually, because it's going to be hard looking, like, we're looking at games now. We're looking at the likes of, I don't know, The Last of Us. That game came out in 2013. I can't look at The Last of Us in 2023 and consider that game retro, because look at it. That game came out in 2012 or 2013 and it still looks good today. It looks amazing. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm talking about in the terms of 3D graphics that are supposed to represent real characters and real life people, like, as realistic as it can be, games that are aimed to be realistic. In 10 years, which is like another year from now, The Last of Us will be 10 years old, it still looks good. It's going to be hard for me to look at that and go, that game looks so retro. Do you know what I mean? So in a game, I think it's like a game-by-game basis for me when it comes to classing a game as retro. Now, obviously, 16-bit games are retro. 32-bit 3D games are retro. Because, in fact, I think I might have just came up with a reason to call a game retro. I think a game should be classed as retro if the method used to create it, the tools, the technology, the way that it was made, you know, the engine, whatever, if that method of making games is no longer being done and hasn't been done for at least 10 years, then it could be considered retro. For example, how games were made in the 32-bit era. So the PlayStation 1 to maybe early PlayStation 2. Games are not made that way anymore. They're made very differently, I would imagine. So those games are retro. So, no, well, now I'm starting to eat my own words. Now I'm starting to contradict myself. Because then you've got games that are coming out that are made to look retro deliberately. And there are games that are still being released, unofficially at least, but they're still there are games that are still being released for the Sega Mega Drive. And the best example I can give is Pure Solar. Pure Solar is a game that was released in, I want to say 2010, I could be wrong. I want to say 2010. And it was released for all modern consoles as well as a Sega Mega Drive. And I want to say, I want to look it up. Pure Solar. It's a turn-based RPG. And it was developed by Watermelon Studios. And it was released on December 14th, 2010. And was released on the Sega Mega Drive. And all other platforms going forward. So it was released on PS3, PS4, PC, Wii U, Xbox One, even Dreamcast. It even came out on Dreamcast in 2015. Now, that game, I mean, yeah, you could still call it retro because it's now been 12 years since that game released. So by the definition that I'm coming up with, by the theory that I'm coming up with, yes, it's considered retro. But at the time when it came out, what I like to class a game like that is because it came out on the Mega Drive first, it's a strange one. You know, okay, do you know what? I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to start talking about games that are released on modern consoles exclusively and have deliberate pixel art. Games that are released that have got pixel art in their games, so the likes of why am I blanking? Shovel Knight, or the Messenger, or Bloodstained, Circle of the Moon. You know, those games are pixel art. I like to call those games retro-inspired. That's a good way to put it. So, while they aren't retro by the fact that they were released in modern eras, they are retro-inspired, which means they are made in such a way to look like a game that would have released in the 90s. At least the visual or the way the characters and sprites are done. But could they, like, the likes of Pier Solar, that game released on a Mega Drive, but there's no way in a million years that a traditional Mega Drive could run that without some additions. So, in order to play Pier Solar on a Mega Drive, I think you would need to have some addition. It uses a cartridge with 64 bits of memory, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to look this up, because this is a tricky one. Okie dokie. Right, I have opened up a Pier Solar FAQ from magicalgamefactory.com. And it says, it's region 3. Pier Solar for Mega Drive and Genesis is compatible with only official hardware. Clones are not supported. Right. Okay. So it just works. So I could buy Pier Solar and plug it into my PlayStation, Sega Mega Drive, and it'll work. Okay, I'll believe that. But my point is, Pier Solar would be retro-inspired. It has been obviously reverse-engineered to work on a Mega Drive. But the best way to play that would probably be the HD versions that were released on PS3 and PS4. So it's like a game that was released on Genesis and then was kind of remastered by itself in 2014. It was almost like it was deliberately being made for those consoles in mind as well. But like, games that are released looking like that, I would call them retro-inspired. But in terms of consoles, a console is considered retro for me if it's been out of production in at least 10 years. Then it's retro to me. But for games, it's a game-by-game basis, I think. It's what way a game was made, it's the graphical style used, it's the intent on making it look a certain way, because some PS1 games are ahead of their time for the time they were released. Like the likes of Metal Gear Solid. Like, that was ahead of its time when that came out. You compare that to a game like Tomb Raider. Both games look quite good, but Metal Gear Solid is more cinematic, uses a lot of fancy techniques that other games weren't really doing at the time. Very ahead of its time. But you've still got to look at the graphics themselves. They are still 32-bit, they are still pixelated, they are still polygonal. So they get less polygon counts and less colour counts than other consoles going forward. So it's still considered retro, because it is. 1998 that came out. That was 26 years ago? You're damn right it's retro. Yeah. I don't want to continue this topic because I feel like I'm talking about something I don't know about, even though I should know about it. But, yes, that is what is considered retro to me. A 10-year-old out of production console. Not so much 10 years from the console's launch. Because a console could go on for a long time before it's discontinued. The likes of the PS2, that went on for a long time before it was discontinued. The Xbox 360 went on for a long time before it was discontinued. So it's 10 years after a console ceases production is when I consider it retro. So the Xbox 360, when did that cease production? Looking it up now. The Xbox 360 ceased production in... Well, it was 10 years after launch, so 2015. It ceased production in 2015, so... In 2025, the Xbox 360 in my books will be considered retro. And there's still plenty of 360 games that still play fantastic. Like Gears of War. Even though it came out in 2006, that game plays so well. Halo 3. I suppose Halo 1 and 2 still play just as well. Yeah, there's not a lot of games on Xbox 360 you consider dated. Although there was a technique around the mid to late 2000s of Xbox 360 games that just overused some visual graphical styles that just fucking bothered me. I'm talking like the overuse of bloom and artificial lighting effects and all this garbage. Just made the games look like you had bleach in your eyes and you couldn't see. Like, games that look like that are just, oof. Thank God we're not doing that anymore. With the likes of HDR and just better options for, like, how games look from a lighting perspective, we've come a long way. And thank God we've come away from that era. You know, I'm a retro game enthusiast. So, as well as a modern game enthusiast. So I play games of all kinds, but I just cannot stand games that were released in 2007, 8, 9, around that time where everything was just bloomy as fuck. Like, everything just had to look like you had bleach in your eyes. Overuse of a white vignette at either side of the screen or a black vignette. You know what I mean? Like, just clean it up. You don't need to just overdo it. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm done talking about that. Let's get into what I've been playing lately. I've been playing a fucking shit ton of games since the last episode of this podcast. I was able to play Resident Evil Village, got to play that, thought it was fantastic. And after I beat that, I got really in the mood to play more Resident Evil, so I jumped straight into the Resident Evil HD remake. I have that recorded on YouTube for Just Play Live. I'm planning on cutting it all up and making it into a single episode when I get a chance. So if you're interested in watching me play that game from start to finish, you can find it on my YouTube channel at the moment on the live section on past broadcasts. But I will be chopping it up through time eventually, and I'll have it in a much more neater set of content if you want to wait for it, if that's even your thing. And then I tried to play Watch Dogs Legion. Ugh, fairly ugly on PS4 Pro. Like, a 1600p resolution with drops to 1200p. That sounds like nothing if you're playing it on a traditional full HD TV. But when you're playing it on a 4K television, yeah, it starts to look a bit ugly. It looks really blurry on my TV. And then I went to try it on Xbox. So I went and bought the Xbox version to play on my Xbox One X, because apparently it rendered at a much higher resolution. And it did. However, horrible screen tearing on my end. Instant turn off. Like, you can have the most gorgeous game on the planet with the best gameplay, but if it suffers from bad screen tearing, I'm out. I played it for about 5 minutes and then I asked for a refund. So, Watch Dogs Legion has been a massive disappointment for me. So I'm going to wait until whenever it may be, if I can get myself either an Xbox Series X or a PS5. I'll just hold that. I am in no rush to play Watch Dogs Legion. But from what I did play of it, it's more of the same. It's more Watch Dogs. So when I'm in the mood to play it, I will go back to it. But what I have been playing up until very, very recently is the Metroid series. I finally dove into the Metroid series. I've been pretty much a Metroid virgin up until now. I had played Super Metroid before, and I got quite far in it at one point. Well, I thought I got quite far in it when I played it on my Super Nintendo Classic mini console. I must have got about 2 hours into it, which to me I thought I was nearing the end, because games in the 16-bit era were not that long. So, oh, how naive of me, because I went and played... See, I decided to start the Metroid games from scratch to an extent. So, the first Metroid game I was able to play from start to finish was Metroid Zero Mission. I got a Wii U just to play that. I don't know if I mentioned that on any prior episode, but that's what I bought a Wii U for. I bought a Wii U back in August or September or something like that, just so I could play Metroid Zero Mission, because everyone went on about how great Metroid Zero Mission was, and if you're going to dive into the series, either start with Super Metroid or Metroid Zero Mission. And my intent was to play these games leading up to Metroid Dread. And at first I thought, I'm going to have to play all these games. And then someone said, not necessarily. If you want to play them in chronological order, I suggest you play Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid 2 Samus Returns, Super Metroid, and Metroid Fusion. And some people said, at the very least, play Metroid Fusion before jumping into Metroid Dread, because apparently Metroid Dread references a lot of Metroid Fusion in the game more than any other installment. And then someone said you don't really need to play them in any particular order. Play whatever one you feel comfortable playing. You don't even need to play any of the games if you want to just jump into Metroid Dread immediately. So I felt like I was in a lot of comfort knowing that I could just play any game in the series that I wanted to without worrying about missing anything. But I still wanted to play all the other games, at least some of them, before playing Metroid Dread, because I bought Metroid Dread and I thought, I don't really want to play it yet. I want to play the others first. So I played Metroid Zero Mission on the Wii U. And I first started playing it back in October or something like that. But then I thought, no, I'm not enjoying using this method to play the game. Now, if you don't know what the Wii U looks like, let me just explain it very briefly. The console itself is just a box where you can put discs and all that into. But the controller for it is weird. It's basically, you're looking at it, you can tell that it's the precursor to what eventually became the Nintendo Switch. You could say that it was a foundation for what the Nintendo Switch ended up being, because it's got a lot of similarities to the Nintendo Switch in a way, in that you can play it either in handheld mode or on the TV. But the difference here is that you need to have the Wii U connected. You need to have the Wii U turned on so that you can use the gamepad with the screen on it. And I thought, that's fine, that doesn't bother me. Playing Metroid Zero Mission in handheld was fine. I was able to play it in bed a couple of times, but if I wanted to play it on the TV, I would still have to use the Wii U controller with the screen on it, but I couldn't turn the screen off. And that ended up being a massive distraction. So what I did was, recently I invested in a Wii U Pro controller, and it was quite pricey. €50 is what I paid for it. But I says, right, no, I need one. I want to play it with a traditional controller, so that's what I did. So I played a Game Boy Advance game on a Wii U with a Pro controller on my TV. Strange fucking loops to jump through just to play this Game Boy Advance game. But I got to play it, and I beat it, and my first reaction was, why didn't I play these games before? Metroid Zero Mission came out, what was it? 2004. So we're talking about 16 and a half years ago, almost. Is it? I can't remember how long ago that was. I'm trying to count. 2004, 18 years. By the time October comes, I will have been in this country 18 years. So yeah, about 18 years ago, Metroid Zero Mission came out for the Game Boy Advance, and I didn't get to play it until 2022 or 2021. And it's fantastic. I'm like how have I not played these games before? And then I wanted to play Samus Returns, Metroid 2. And I couldn't because I didn't have the game. It's quite expensive. It's about €50 as well, about €45. And I'm like, I'll wait. And people were recommending that I play the unofficial fan remake called AM2R, which stands for Another Metroid 2 Remake. And I thought, no, I didn't want to, because that would mean I'd have to sit at the computer and play it, and I don't want to do that. So I skipped the Metroid 2 story altogether and went straight into Super Metroid, which was easy, because I already have that on the Nintendo Switch online subscription service, so I was able to play it on the Nintendo Switch. And after beating Super Metroid, I know after playing Metroid Zero Mission, I thought this game was fantastic. How could I have missed out on this game? But playing Super Metroid and beating it made me come to the realization of, wow, these games have been just under my radar for the best part of, like, I never had a Nintendo console until I was in my late teens. My first Nintendo console was, what was it, a fucking GameCube, and even then I barely played it. But the first Nintendo console that I bought and actually used properly was, apart from a 2DS, which I used to play Pokemon Y, and then I sold it. But the first Nintendo console I owned and used at a premium level was the Nintendo Switch. So I'm trying to catch up on all these games that are Nintendo properties that I just didn't play. And Super Metroid was one of them, and my god, that game, it actually made, there was a point I was playing this and I had to stop and think, this game came out on a Super Nintendo. This game came out on a 16-bit console. This is a 16-bit game. And look at the fucking size of it. Look at the size of it. It's huge. It's, now, like, I've played Metroidvanias before. The first Metroidvania game I ever played to completion, I can't remember if it was either Ori and the Blind Forest or Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I'm going to say it was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That was the first Metroidvania game I played and beat. And that was back in 2020, I think. That was the first time I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, because I was playing the Castlevania series leading up to that point, I think. And that was brilliant. I loved that. But I didn't really become a fan of the genre properly until I beat Super Metroid. Because after beating Super Metroid, I thought to myself, so this is Metroidvania. This is what everyone goes on about. This is why Metroidvanias are beloved. Because now that I've played both Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I get it. And then after I beat Super Metroid, I was like, I want to play another one. I want to play another Metroid game. So I went straight into Metroid Fusion. And I was slightly disappointed. Now don't get me wrong, Metroid Fusion, brilliant game. Loved it. But it was a little bit more linear than the other games that I played. But it was still good. I was still able to go around and pick up most of my upgrades and backtrack a bit to pick up other things, but it was like, the game's trying to push me, narrative-wise. It's trying to push me to do the next thing. It doesn't want me to track back. I could tell by the way the game was being laid out in front of me, by the way the narrative was going, by the way the game was being, but the way I was perceiving it, the game didn't want me to track back. That's what it felt like while I was playing it. So I was like, okay, I'll just play the way you want me to play. So it was much more linear than Super Metroid and Zero Mission, which was fine, I guess. I still enjoyed it. But then after I beat Metroid Fusion, I says, right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try Samus Returns, or AM2R. And it was like, look, I've enjoyed these games, but I think I'm getting... I heard that AM2R was way too difficult. I said, I don't really want that experience. So I was like, look, I remembered to myself that I didn't need to play every installment before playing Dread. I just want to play Dread after I got a feel for how Metroid games played, how they were, so that I had some familiarity going into the latest installment. So that's what I did. So I finally got to play Metroid Dread, and I played it over a weekend and change. I must have beaten it very early during the week, and my God, I got so addicted. Now, there was plenty of moments while playing this game that made, like, I just knew what to do now because I was familiar with the series. I'm thinking to myself, how could anyone go into this game without playing a previous Metroid game and not get stuck? Because there were plenty of moments in this game where I knew that someone who hadn't played Metroid before would have got stuck here. And it's like, this game is the best Metroidvania game I have ever played. And I haven't played that many of them, but Metroid Dread is probably the best one. It's huge. Like, it's massive. I think it was bigger than Super Metroid. Now, that's hard for me to say, because in Metroid Dread, you move a lot faster than you do in Super Metroid. A lot faster. So, even though the map is probably bigger, it can be traversed a lot quicker than how it would be in Super Metroid, if that makes any sense. But nevertheless, oh my fucking God, I couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down. My Nintendo Switch puts it down to me having it on for 20 hours. But the game doesn't track your playtime unless you are actually playing the game, controlling Samus. So, as a result, I must have had about 10 hours spent in total on the pause screen, on the map screen, and the main menu, all cumulatively combined. But the game took me about 11 and a half hours to beat. And it got to a point where I was getting to the middle of the game or something like that, and I was like, I kind of want to get everything. I kind of want to collect everything. So I did. I went and done every single thing that game had, at least in this playthrough. I collected every upgrade. I collected every item that you could pick up. I was maxed out by the time I got to the final boss. And after I beat it, I just put the controller down, I sat back and I just went, this was an experience like little other. You know, yep, I've beaten Symphony of the Night. Yep, I've beaten Super Metroid. I've beaten Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Ori and the Blind Forest. I've played my fair share of Metroidvanias, and after beating Metroid Dread, I was like, I want more Metroidvanias. I want to play more of them. You know, I've played Metroidvanias, like I keep saying. Yeah, I've played The Messenger. I've played Ori. Now, I've experienced so many of them, but I didn't really appreciate the genre until I beat Metroid Dread. And I was like, I need to play more of these. I need to play more Metroidvanias. So I looked up a few that I may or may not have wanted to try. Because I'm not going back to Metroid, not for a while. I say the next Metroid game I might play, I want to maybe try the Metroid Prime series. Now, those are a little bit different than the traditional Metroid games in that they're first-person shooters, but they have a lot of exploration in them. So I'm going to wait. I think they're available on the Wii U, in the sense that I can actually go into the Wii U's online store and buy it digitally, because it's a Wii game, and the Wii U is fully compatible with the Wii controls and the Wii games and all that, and the Wii game library. So I'm going to maybe see if I can get myself Metroid Prime, the trilogy for the Wii, and I'm going to maybe get a Wii Motion Plus controller, which is, apparently they're better than the traditional motion Wii controller, because they're apparently more accurate. They've got a better motion sensor put in, and I want to have the best experience possible when playing that. So so that's my next purchase, I would say, in terms of gaming in general. I want to get the Metroid Prime trilogy for the Wii to play it on my Wii U, and I want to get a Motion Plus controller. and I want to experience it the best way possible. So that's my next jump into the Metroid series. But in terms of Metroidvanias in general, I decided to take a break from Metroid overall, and I've just gone through my library, and I've recently tried to play a game called Hollow Knight. Now, I've already tried to play this before, and I've played about an hour or two of it now at this point, and my first thought is, I don't know if I'm ready for this one. This one is quite depressing. It reminds me, tone-wise, of Ori. And the game kind of just drops you into this world with little to no explanation and basically says, right, figure it out. Kind of like what Metroid does. It drops you into this world and it says, figure it out. But having played Metroid Dread and Metroid Fusion, which are a little bit more linear, I have to say, even though Metroid Dread allows for huge amounts of exploration, the game still kind of nudges you just a bit on a narrative perspective, at least until you get all your upgrades. It kind of nudges you to get all your upgrades first before you decide to go explore fully. And Hollow Knight obviously isn't doing that, but I'm enjoying it. I know I can enjoy it, but it's just, I don't know if it's the game I want to play from a tone perspective. Now, I've went and looked up other games that I might have had in my library, and I went on to Steam. I took to Steam to see if there was any Metroidvanias I could get, because Steam has an outrageous library of games. And I'm sure those games are available on PS4 and Xbox One, but because I was at a computer and I had Steam open anyway, I decided to look up and see what Metroidvanias were available on the Steam store. I'm sure they're available on PS4 and the likes, but I just wanted to see what games existed. And I found games that I haven't started them yet, but there's 5 games that came to my attention, and there's the likes of Lost Epic, Salt and Sanctuary, Grime, Blasphemous, and Skull, or School, I can't pronounce it. Now, apart from Skull, 4 of these games, I'm looking at the genres, and they all have something in common. Despite the fact that they are Metroidvanias, the other thing that they have in common is it says they are Souls-like, which means they play in some form or another like Dark Souls, and I think I've got a rough idea as to what that means. First of all, very difficult. I would imagine, now I haven't played these games, so I'm only just speculating here, I would imagine that they are designed in a way that you have to do a lot of meticulous combat, like parrying. I would imagine that there's a rogue aspect to it, like Dark Souls, where you can die and you can lose all your shit, but you have an opportunity to go back and pick it all up again. I don't know if that's in those games, but that is what is in all the Souls games. I would imagine it might be in here. Hollow Knight has this, which means to say that Hollow Knight is difficult, because if it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't have that in it. That's what I imagine it. Now, going into the Hollow Knight page on Steam, I'm looking at what genre this game says it is. Now, where did I find it? I lost it. If I put it on my wish list, it'll tell me. I had it in my ignored list for some reason. Here we go. Yes, popular user-defined tags for this product. Metroidvania, difficult, Souls-like. So it's the same thing. And I'm looking at the trailer for it, and Hollow Knight is stunning. Hollow Knight is stunning. Let me describe what Hollow Knight is. Hollow Knight is a 2D Metroidvania. It was released in 2017. Really? It was released in 2017? I thought it came out earlier than that. It was released in 2017 by Team Cherry. And it's hand-drawn. And the animations are, like, the animations are hand-drawn, and they're whatever. But, so it's not pixelated. It's HD, probably a 4K resolution allowed if you play it on PC, but it runs in 1080p on the PS4, PS5 and all that. Sorry, I've got heartburn again. And it's it's fucking dark. From what I've played, it's very moody. It's depressing. It's very, very dark looking, and it reminds me of Ori in such a way. Now Ori left me in an emotional wreck when I beat that game. Both games. And Hollow Knight kind of reminds me of Ori in that sense, but it also kind of reminds me of Limbo or Inside in a way that everything's just dark and dreary. And it's twisted, it's gloomy, and I'm sure it's fantastic. I would definitely agree that this game is outrageously good. And it probably is. It's just, I don't know if I'm ready to play a game that looks like this. I'm not ready to play a game that looks like this yet. After playing the action-packed, high-octane, fucking stunning, fast-paced, energy-driven Metroid franchise, after playing that, and then going to Hollow Knight, it's like, there is this scene in a program that I watch called Father Ted. It's a sitcom. It was filmed in Ireland and it was broadcast in Ireland and the UK. And there's just this one particular scene where this guy, he suffers depression, and he's played by a comedian called Tommy Tiernan, very popular in Ireland. Kind of like an Irish Billy Connolly, that's how I see him. But he plays this priest who's depressed, and everyone around him tries to cheer him up and make him happy by the end of it. And there's a bit where he gets a eureka moment, an aha moment, an epiphany, where he just says, fuck it, I'm going to be happy, and I'm going away, and he goes into this bus, and he sits in the back of the bus, he's all happy, everything around him is bright and colourful and cheerful, and then he asks the bus driver to stick on the radio. Or the bus driver asks him, do you want the radio on? And then he goes and puts the radio on, and then it's Radiohead that plays. And like within 5 to 10 seconds, he goes from bright and cheerful to just dull and gloomy, and the colours round about him go from colourful to like dull, and the sun goes away and it's all cloudy and grey, and then he's depressed again. That is what Hollow Knight has done to me after playing Metroid Dread. I've went from being energetic and, whoa, this game is so fucking fun and fast and colourful and woof, to Hollow Knight. Yeah, it's a Metroidvania, but it makes me feel like I need a rope. It's good, but I'm just not ready for it tonally. So, I gave myself some options. I found the Shantae series. If you've never heard of Shantae, they are side-scrolling, alleged Metroidvanias. And they're very bright, very colourful, very chirpy, very, good. Happy games, it's like very cartoony, they're supposed to be really, really good. And I took a look at them, and I realised I actually own Shantae the Half Genie Hero. I think that's maybe the 4th game in the series, and I thought, apparently that's a Metroidvania, I'm going to give it a go, so I did. And it's not what I was looking for, basically. I took to Reddit, and I just expressed my disappointment in the game, because I was really hoping that, because everyone tells me that Shantae is a Metroidvania, and apparently it is, the whole series. But I expressed my disappointment because it wasn't what I was looking for, and I just want to know if I wanted to know if everyone else felt the same. Because there's no way this game is as popular as it is, and this is all it is, and people class it as a Metroidvania. So, I took to Reddit, and I asked other people's opinions. What do they think? And my question was, where do I find it now? I said, Shantae and the Half Genie Hero, I'm not enjoying it. And this is what I said. I said, I was under the impression that this was a Metroidvania, but It just looks like an action platform and collectathon where you have to replay the entire level to collect different items depending on what abilities you have. And I suppose that's the Metroidvania aspect. And I said, I guess when I play a Metroidvania, I expect the traditional tropes. Open area that could be gradually uncovered the more powerful I got. This game is separated by levels that can only be accessed via click where you want to go with a start level and level complete. It's too beeline. And I said that it's good, which it is, but it feels a bit too Donkey Kong Country at times, and it's just not what I'm looking for. And then I asked, are all the Shantae games like this? And a lot of very good replies here. Someone said, Shantae has a mix of action platformers and true Metroidvanias. The original, Pirate's Curse, and Seven Sirens, those three games are more of the latter. And I said that I would look them up and take a closer gander at them, but of course I just had to pick the one that's less of a Metroidvania than the rest of them. And then someone else said the opposite, where they said that Half Genie Hero isn't a Metroidvania, and in my opinion, or in his opinion, it's the weakest of the series. Seven Sirens is the most Metroidvania of them all, with Pirate's Curse and Risky's Revenge slightly less so. Their maps deviate a little from the traditional Metroid setup, but in all other aspects, Pirate's Curse and Risky's Revenge are totally Metroidvanias. And then someone else said, and this is the one that actually made me think, yep, this is definitely the definitive answer. Shantae has always felt like a Metroidvania light. A fairly shallow platformer with some padding in traversal. The art direction makes them more alluring than they deserve to be, but to each their own. And I guess I was just spoiled by Metroid. Going into Shantae was... Sorry about that. Going into Shantae was very jarring. Like, yeah, it's a really good game, but it's just not what I want in terms of Metroidvanias in the slightest. So maybe when I hit the mood to play a 2D platformer, I'll maybe jump in. But right now, it's just not what I'm looking for. They're not bad games, but I've never felt too compelled to play a game like it, so maybe some other time. But I was still in the mood to play something of a Metroidvania, so I took to Steam, like I said, and I found a game called... I forgot the name of it. What the fuck is the game called? Salt and Sanctuary. And like I said earlier on, I was going through all these Metroidvania games that were all Souls-likes, and Salt and Sanctuary is one of those games. It's a Metroidvania, but it's also a Souls-like. And at first I was kind of put off by it. I was like, I don't know if I want a Souls-like game. I don't want the difficulty. But then I heard a lot of good things about it. So I downloaded it. I bought it. I bought Salt and Sanctuary. I downloaded it. I played it for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And it's good. It's really good. Very challenging. Not nearly as challenging as what I've experienced on Dark Souls, but it's hard. It's very much if Dark Souls was a side scroller. That's the tone. That's the feel I have from it. That's what it looks like to me. But then I just thought to myself, look, I don't think I'm ready to play any. I've kind of burnt out from looking for a game of this genre to play. So I says I'm just going to take a break from looking for Metroidvanias now. And this is why I've got such a short attention span. I just can't stick to the one thing without moving on to something else, because I decided to go and get my bike fixed. Now, bear with me, this is still retro gaming related, or this is still what I've been playing related. So I went and got my bike fixed. My bike needed so many repairs. Repaired it, cost about 150 quid. Fucking hell. But I repaired my bike, and I thought I'd take it for a joyride. And very much a smooth cycle throughout. I really enjoyed it. For once, it's actually fun to cycle. So I says, right, I'll cycle into the town centre, because I haven't done that in a while. So I did. Cycled into the town centre and then decided to just explore the area for a while. I went into my local GameStop, decided to scope around, and I found Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the remakes of the Diamond and Pearl Sinnoh region Pokemon games. I don't know what generation that is. I think it's generation 4. Not a massive Pokemon aficionado. I know a bit. I know quite a lot about generation 1, but not that much about anything going forward. But the games are still fun. I do enjoy them. And I was just kind of staring at it for a bit, and I was like, I could do with a Pokemon game, actually. Now, I already have Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I have Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and I also have Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Ultra Moon, as well as the original Pokemon Yellow. I've got a lot of Pokemon games, but I'm struggling to find one to stick with. You know, what generation do I want to tackle? And I thought maybe I'll try Brilliant Diamond. Try a Generation 4 Pokemon game. And I, on impulse, picked up Pokemon Brilliant Diamond for the Nintendo Switch. And I am a good few hours into it, although I'm not far. And when I say that, it means I've spent most of my time grinding and collecting as much as I can. And I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. So I think I've found the game to keep me busy for the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So, yeah, I've went straight from Metroidvanias to Pokemon. That's where I am now. So that's what I'm playing. I'm playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond on the Switch. So that's where I've landed. And I guess that's it for what I've been playing. And I think that would be it for the entire episode of this podcast. So, if you got this far, which is what, 2 hours and 40-something minutes? I know it was a long one, but this is a whole month and a half worth of drivel that I needed to get out. So, if you enjoyed it, then thanks very much. And if you want to see more or listen to more, you know exactly what to do. And until the next time, thanks for taking the time to listen, and I'll see you next time. Take care, stay safe, and goodbye. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this content. If you want to see more, then please check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/gamerboy. That's GAMERBHOY. Gamerboy with an H. This is the home of GB Gaming, the home of GB Reviews. Blame on that one level that killed me 68 fucking times. All just so I could get a couple of fucking letters. Just play. Ah! Right, that's it, I'm done. No. Just ran.
The Metal Gear franchise is made and owned by a scumbag company such as Konami, and it bugs me that my new love for the Castlevania franchise is somewhat diminished.
And of course, the GB Gaming Podcast, available on both YouTube and Spotify. If you're a Spotify user, be sure to use the search bar and input GB Gaming Podcast. All my episodes are here, as well as SoundCloud if that's your thing. If you're a SoundCloud user, then all you need to do is visit soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. That's soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. If you like all of what I've just mentioned, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified on all future content. I'm also on Twitter. You can find all my stupid opinions if you search for me at GamerBoy89. All of my channel updates go through here as well, so if you haven't hit the bell, you can always find updates here. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to though. If you're just a passerby, then thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to leave feedback. I'm always looking to improve on things, so don't be shy to say what you think. Once again, thank you for visiting GB Gaming, where video games come first.